Hello! Today we are going to talk about poly-mono relationships and some of the challenges that these kind of relationship faces. Some people are monogamous, they want only one partner. And some people are polyamorous, they want several partners. Now, what happens if a polyamorous, a monogamous person and a polyamorous person, they fall in love? Or what happens if they are both starting out as monogamous and then during the course one of them find out that he is or she is polyamorous? Or what if both of them starts out as polyamorous relationships and then one of them finds out, well, I just want one relationship? So, we're going to look at some of the challenges of this and some of the possible solutions. I'm going to talk a little bit about my relationship with Julia. Julia is married. Julia had been married for 22 or something years. She had 2 children. She had a husband. And when we met, and then one of the first things that was very clear is, of course, I'm not taking the place of her husband, and I'm not taking the place as a father to the children. So my place in her life is limited, and there are no, for example, economical commitments or things like that. And again, her place in my life is also limited. My children are grown up. What more? I am not looking for a wife. I'm not looking for somebody to buy a house with, or a car with, or having babies with. So her place in my life is also limited. So what brings us together is mutual attraction. I love her, she's my love, we are loving together, so we are having a lover's relationship. So having this established, that we wanted a relationship, we wanted also to, in my case, meeting my other relationships and the other people that were important in my life, and also she wanted that I was meeting with her family, her children, so I would go there, we would speak and talk together. And when we were spending that time at her place, there were some limitations. Her husband wanted that they were the couple in this case, and that was okay with me. I would still be sleeping in the guest room. Another limitation that was set was that there was no sex when he was around, and that was also okay, so there would be goodnight embraces. And of course at other times we would borrow an apartment, we would stay some days in a hut in the mountains. So there were solutions to this. And one thing that is important in what for me was important was that not only should Julia, that I was having my relationship, be okay about it, also her husband should be okay about it. So if we are, this is some of the elements that has to be taken into consideration when having a poly-mono relationship is, how do we make it work? How do we make it so that it's good for everybody, or at least acceptable? Well, between our meetings we would communicate with Skype or with telephone calls or emails. So that was also a limitation, because she was working and I was having my obligations. So there's a lot of limitations, and when we are clear about them, it's much easier to have a relationship. Time was a limitation as well, and it was also easier for her actually to leave her family and come to visit me. But again, she couldn't do it too often. Money was a consideration, but mostly only about the airplane. So this was not a climate-friendly relationship. It was not the reason that this particular relationship broke up, but we were using airplanes as a way of meeting each other, coming to each other, she coming to me or I coming to her. So it was not a climate-friendly relationship, I do admit that. So that's some examples from one PolyMono relationship that I was in. And I'd like to say that polyamory is not having monogamous relationships with one person. I mean, it's not like having many monogamous relationships, because that will just make you tired and make you because if you're having this, everybody will expect you sort of to be the everything. So it's very good that your other partners have other interests and other loves. And one thing you have to look at is, of course, what are your needs and what are your offers? Do you need a daily SMS? Is that okay for both parties included, or all parties included? Phone, Skype, if not meeting up in person is possible. You have to see at what you can offer in time and capacity. And again, this is something that means that this polyamory is not for everybody, because not everybody is able to think that way about the relationship, to say, okay, I'm going to give some time there and some time there. Some people, if you compare it to work, this is more like having projects and shifting between projects, compared to working at the same factory or in the same farm all of your life. So again, polyamory is not for everybody. One way of thinking about it, I mentioned projects, and I also sometimes think about my project and I give them a name. Like, I was having this forest project and I called this project Eve, and my girlfriend at that time was not very used to thinking about polyamory, so I said, no, well, you have a job that you're going to finish, and you call that job Adam. And that made it sort of easier to explain that, okay, I have to do and fulfill my agreements with Eve, and you have to fulfill your agreements with Adam. And so we could speak about our projects as relationships as well. And that goes a bit the other way, that you think of your partners as projects, and that you just have to find a way to balance them and to continuously answer what is a good relationship for you and what is a good relationship for the others involved. Now, you are not supposed to find all the answers, but these are things that's important to have in your mind. So, another important aspect of this is respecting your own needs and your partner's needs, that these are being taken care of. And some people have more needs than others, and I would say that Julia's husband was into photography, but it could have been piano playing, or it could have been walking in the mountains, but it was photography. So I would say that the relationship he had with his interest of photography was, in a way, it's not the same, but it was at least in time consuming, in the time it consumed and the energy in it, it was a bit like Julia's relationship to me. One important thing, of course, is the relationship to yourself, and to make sure that you have time enough and not just to be sucked into what everybody else in the world wants from you, and to say, hey, what do I need to function? And of course, well, what do you need? What do you think? This is the homework part. What do you think that a polymono relationship need for it to be good for you and for the other people involved? Next episode will be about the search of the unicorn. Stay tuned.